Hi everyone. Today we will look at Messier 57 Ring Nebula. The Ring Nebula, also catalogued as Messier 57, M57, and NGC 6720, is a planetary nebula in the northern constellation of Lyra. Such a nebula is formed when a star, during the last stages of its evolution before becoming a white dwarf, expels a vast luminous envelope of ionized gas into the surrounding interstellar space. M57 is 0.787 kiloparsec or 2,570 light-years from Earth. It has a visual magnitude of 8.8 and a dimmer photographic magnitude of 9.7. Photographs taken over a period of 50 years show the rate of nebula expansion is roughly 1 arcsecond per century, which corresponds to spectroscopic observations as 20 to 30 kilometers per second. M57 is illuminated by a central white dwarf of 15.75 V visual magnitude. Its radius is 1.3 light-years. All the interior parts of this nebula have a blue-green tinge that is caused by the doubly ionized oxygen emission lines at 495.7 and 500.7 nanometers. These observed so-called forbidden lines occur only in conditions of very low density containing a few atoms per cubic centimeter. In the outer region of the ring, part of the reddish hue is caused by hydrogen emission at 656.3 nanometers, forming part of the Balmer series of lines. Forbidden lines of ionized nitrogen or N2 contribute to the reddishness at 654.8 and 658.3 nanometers. This nebula was discovered by the French astronomer Charles Messier while searching for comets in late January 1779. Messier's report of his independent discovery of Comet Bode reached fellow French astronomer Antoine Darquier de Pellepoix 2 weeks later, who then independently rediscovered the nebula while following the comet. Darquier later reported that it was as large as Jupiter and resembles a planet which is fading, which may have contributed to the use of the persistent, planetary nebula terminology. It would be entered into Messier's catalogue as the 57th object. Messier and German-born astronomer William Herschel speculated that the nebula was formed by multiple faint stars that were unresolvable with his telescope. In 1800, German Count Friedrich von Hahn announced that he had discovered the faint central star at the heart of the nebula a few years earlier. He also noted that the interior of the ring had undergone changes, and said he could no longer find the central star. In 1864, English amateur astronomer William Huggins examined the spectra of multiple nebulae, discovering that some of these objects, including M57, displayed the spectra of bright emission lines characteristic of fluorescing glowing gases. Huggins concluded that most planetary nebulae were not composed of unresolved stars, as had been previously suspected, but were nebulosities, in other words, a cloud of gases. The nebula was first photographed by the Hungarian astronomer Eugene von Gothard in 1886. Today we know that these nebulae are formed when main sequence stars dies out and becomes a white dwarf. As explained above, this is what will happen to the Sun in about 4.5 billion years. M57 is found south of the bright star Vega, which forms the northwestern vertex of the Summer Triangle asterism. The nebula lies about 40% of the distance from Beta to Gamma Lyrae, making it an easy target for amateur astronomers to find. The nebula disk has an angular size of 1.5 by 1 arcminutes, making it too small to be resolved with 10 by 50 binoculars. It is best observed using a telescope with an aperture of at least 20 centimeters, but even a 7.5 centimeters telescope will reveal its elliptical ring shape. Using a UHC or OIII filter greatly enhances visual observation, particularly in light-polluted areas. The interior hole can be resolved by a 10 centimeters instrument at a magnification of 100. Larger instruments will show a few darker zones on the eastern and western edges of the ring and some faint nebulosity inside the disk. The central star, at magnitude 14.8, is difficult to spot. The central star was discovered by Hungarian astronomer Gino Gothard on September 1, 1886, from images taken at his observatory in Herony, near Szombathely. Within the last 2,000 years, the central star of the Ring Nebula has left the asymptotic giant branch after exhausting its supply of hydrogen fuel. Thus it no longer produces its energy through nuclear fusion and, in evolutionary terms, it is now becoming a compact white dwarf star. The central star now consists primarily of carbon and oxygen with a thin outer envelope composed of lighter elements. Its mass is about 0.61 to 0.62 solar mass, with a surface temperature of 125,000 plus or minus 5,000 Kelvin. Currently it is 200 times more luminous than the Sun, but its apparent magnitude is only plus 15.75. Well, that's it for M57. I'll leave you while looking at James Webb Space Telescope pictures of M57. They are a little better than mine. Only slightly. I hope to see you soon.